Joe Retterath, born September 20th, 1891, on a farm near Ledgerwood to Matthias Retterath and Mary Anna Wagner Retterath. Matthias Retterath, born in Harrisbach, Germany, in March 17, 1850, and Mary Anna Wagner, born in England, Germany, on May 27, 1852, were married on September 26, 1876. They immigrated to America in 1880 with their two daughters, Catherine and Margaret. Margaret died shortly after arriving in America at only 5 years of age. Mary, the third child of Matthias and Mary Anna, was born in Adams, Minnesota. Their next child, Nicholas, only lived for 2 months. Details are not known of his death. Born in Ledgerwood, North Dakota, were Anna and Joseph. Anna died at only 10 years of age, while Joseph went on to be our grandfather, living for 90 wonderful years. Joe's father, Matthias, got his citizenship papers on November 2, 1892. Grandpa, Joe Retterath, had a very sad childhood. His mother died when he was 5, and within the next 4 years, he lost his father and sister Anna.
I was going on 5. I was 5, I guess. And I was 7 when Pa died. And I was 9 when Annie died.
His mother was not able to work for a long time before she died. Grandpa said she'd sit in the garden and I would sit beside her and pick flowers for her. She was 40 years old when she died. His father died when he was 7 years old. He remembers his dad had built a lean-to on the west side of the barn for cattle. He stored grain there in the summertime, but it had to be hauled out for the cattle over the winter. The lean-to had a common-sized door, and his father had to dig the wagon down about 3 feet so he could shovel the grain into the wagon. He would then sack up 15 to 20 sacks and haul them on top of the loose grain. He made 2 trips a day, driving 4 horses, and would ride on top of the load to handle the 4 reins, or else he would walk along beside to keep warm. He caught a bad cold, got sick, and couldn't get over it all winter. By spring, he could no longer work, and the 3 girls did chores with the neighbors' help. The following winter, they had a hired man to do the chores and put in the crop in the spring. Matthias coughed hard all the time and then died that summer. Grandpa remembered running to the field to get the hired man. They always said he died of lung consumption, TB, but Grandpa said he was certain it was pneumonia. Anna's death was traumatic as there were no parents, only her older sisters and younger brother Joseph. She died of diphtheria, at that time a fatal disease. They took Anna away, burned everything she had been near, and couldn't even have a funeral. However, she was buried at night by neighbors in the plot with her parents.
They came up, and they dug the grave, and they buried her at night.
His life was very unsettled, living first with one sister, then another, always having to work for his keep. Grandpa said when he was 12 it was the worst year of his life because he thought he would die that year. He lived with his sister Mary and Gus Larson, who married and lived on the home place. There was an Indian trail right behind the barn. The Indians would travel north in the summer and come back in the fall. Grandpa was afraid of the Indians and always hid when they went by. There were stories of the Indians abducting white children. One time, Mary and Gus went to town on business and couldn't get home for about 2 weeks. Grandpa was alone and afraid. He would milk the cows and then hid in the barn during the daytime. He was afraid the Indians would see smoke from the chimney, so he let the fire go out and nearly froze. He'd climb up to the attic at night, close the hole, and slide an old trunk over it, a frightened little 12-year-old, all alone with his fears for 2 weeks.
Those are the things that he remembered, and the reason they were so meant so much to him was because it's all he had, you know, his growing up.
Grandpa moved from his sister Mary and Gus's to live with the drunken bachelor brother of Gus's. This was such a bad environment for a young boy that William Clarke, Effie's dad, became his guardian.
And those days, it didn't impress me at all. I felt sorry for him, and he always had to walk past our place to go to school, and he'd walk, you know, like kids do, together. We always kind of stuck around him, you know, because he was such a lone little boy. And I think that feeling has savored all his life almost until and now he has his own family.
Effie Sarah Clarke Retterath, born August 11, 1891, to William Martin Clarke and Joanna Pauline Slater Clarke. Every saga has a beginning. This one begins with the birth of Robert Clarke, Mom's grandfather, on May 14, 1830, at Castlebar County, Mayo, Ireland. Robert was the fourth son of John Clarke of Irish descent and Catherine Bright Clarke from Liverpool, England. There were 8 children in this family: John, Daniel, William, Robert, Mom's grandfather, Catherine Elizabeth, Margaret, Elspeth, Bridget, who died as a child in England. Daniel and Robert immigrated to Canada, and the others immigrated to the United States, with the exception of John, who lived in London. Daniel settled in Ontario, Canada. William lived in Bay City, Michigan. Catherine married Frome, and Elizabeth married a man by the name of Peterkin. Catherine and Elizabeth made their homes in Chicago, and Margaret lived in Connecticut. Later, Robert traveled from Canada to Pepin, Wisconsin, and settled a claim. In 1858, Robert Clarke and Sarah Catherine Lenhart, who was born August 12, 1842, near Puxatawney, Pennsylvania, were married in Plum Creek, Wisconsin. Robert was somewhat of a vagabond, since he had come from Ireland with 2 of his brothers, and Sarah's folks made them live close by so they could watch their daughter. Sarah and Robert had 10 children. Mom's great-grandfather, John Clarke, died in Ireland, but great-grandmother Catherine came to the United States and lived with her son Robert, Mom's grandfather, and family at Plum Creek, Pepin County, Wisconsin, until she died in 1874. Robert and Sarah only stayed in Wisconsin until Sarah's dad died, then struck out for the Dakota Territory in 1883. and a homestead southeast of Lidgerwood. After settling his claim, getting his wife and 10 children settled, he went back to Canada for more free claims. Robert only returned a few times, and then as an old man, probably in his 60s, came home to die. His wife Sarah had already died in September of 1904. 2 of his sons had followed him in Canada. Lenhart Bright Clarke, a solid citizen of Edmonton, Alberta, and Lewis Young Clarke, who was killed, and his family was brought back to the United States for relatives to raise.
In 1883, William Martin Clarke, Mom's father, and son of Robert and Sarah, came with his parents to the Dakota Territory. In 1886, William filed his claim and homesteaded 4 miles south of Lidgerwood. Joanna Pauline Slater was born in Iron Ridge, Wisconsin on May 30th, 1871.
My maiden name is Johanna Pauline Slater. I was born in Iron Ridge, Wisconsin in 1871, and I came to Dakota with my parents in 1873. I was a pioneer of Great Bend and Lidgerwood both. I was married to William Martin Clarke in 1889, and we moved to our farm in the same year. In 1931, we moved to our home in Lidgerwood.
Grandpa and Grandma had 5 children: Ada Elizabeth Clarke Willits, Effie Sarah Clarke Retterath, Robert William Clarke, and the twins Raymond Murray Clarke and Royal Leonard Clarke. When Grandpa's brother Louis was killed in Canada and his family brought back to Lidgerwood, Grandpa sent Mom and Ada with the family by train to Sarah's Aunt Lib because her husband was a doctor and could care for the sick widow Mary. Aunt Lib couldn't keep the whole family as she had her own sick daughter, Gwen. Aunt Lib kept the mother, Mary, and 2-year-old boy, but sent Effie, age 14, and Ada, age 16, immediately back on the train alone with Tootie and the baby. Other passengers on the train were irate about these 2 young girls traveling with 2 small children and only enough milk for the baby through the night. After the milk was gone, they fed him water in the bottle. When they arrived in Wahpeton, they hired a man with a horse and buggy to drive them back to Lidgerwood and the farm. They hired a stranger to drive them home, but the girls were glad to be home after 3 days of traveling with a tiny baby and a lost little girl. Mom's mother, Pauline, took over and welcomed the children into her home where they lived their growing up years. Their mother, Mary, died shortly thereafter. Mom went to science school in Wahpeton at age 17 and graduated as a teacher 1 year later and taught their home country school.
Oh, we were so happy to see each other and just friends, you know. We were real good friends. And we always have been. We got the growing together, and well, that's a bad idea, I guess. I don't know where it came from. We'd just as well be married, and were.
Effie Clarke and Joe Retterath were both raised on farms southeast of Lidgewood, North Dakota. Dad's mother came over to act as midwife for Mom's birth, and the neighborliness was returned a month later when Mom's mother went over to help introduce Dad to this big world. The two attended grade school about a half a mile from the Clarke home, with Dad walking through the Clarke yard each day together with his two sisters. Dad helped out at the Clarke farm through the years to earn a little money. The love bug bit Mom and Dad, and they became very interested in each other. However, Mom's parents objected, since Dad was Catholic and Mom strong Lutheran. Many stolen moments of endearment led to marriage plans, but this was met with a big no from the Clarkes. So Mom and Dad decided to elope. On January 2nd, 1913, they packed very few clothes so no one would suspect anything, and took off to a dance at Geneseo, miles away, in Dad's horse and buggy. When the dance was over, instead of turning towards Lidgewood, they aimed the buggy towards Wahpeton and the Justice of the Peace, who pronounced them man and wife. Then the honeymoon, a trip in the buggy back to a one-room apartment in Lidgewood, which had been rented and prepared by Dad's cousin Jack and his wife Lena. The following day, Lena called Mom's folks and invited them in for a turkey dinner to tell them of the wedding. Mom's father was so irate he would have no part of it, but Grandma stayed for the festive occasion, which must have been right, since it was the beginning of 68 years together.
After farming in the Ledgewood area a few years, Mom and Dad's barn burned, and they lost everything: livestock, tools, machinery, and all. They moved to a farm south of Douglas, North Dakota in the fall of 1916. During the hard years, Dad worked for the WPA program. It was a government program, and they built roads and dams in the area. Our family was complete with 6 girls and 1 boy, all sharing in the good and the bad times. Marion, Bernice, Vern, Ivis, Helen, Robert, and Ines.
The first years out here, we really had pretty tough sledding when we first bought this land out. See, he took over his 80 acres or quarter, I don't remember, I think it was 80. And then gave him enough to make a down payment on this place out here. And after that, we had pretty tight sledding. But we never were hungry or anything like that. We always had enough to eat.
We always sewed clothes.
Yeah. I made your kids' clothes.
Church was very important in our lives, driving 10 miles to Douglas to attend Mass. Education was also very important. Our school was 2.5 miles from home, and in cold weather, we were transported by a bobsled. We were covered snugly under robes and blankets, while Dad sat up in front and faced the bitter wind. If it was too cold, Dad spent the day at a bachelor's home who lived across from the school, so the trip didn't have to be made 4 times. In spring and fall, we drove a little 2-wheel cart, and our horse was kept in the school barn until school was out. Then we'd have to hitch up and drive home. Sometimes we walked, but it got a bit far for the little ones.
Always had a good time. Grandpa said, all right, he said, you're worse than the kids. He said, why don't you settle down and be sensible? You're crazier than the kids. And I think I was. They couldn't think of it, I could.
folks retired and moved to Garrison in 1949. Even though we are all grown now with our own families, our memories as children with Mom and Dad and growing up on the farm will remain with us always.
This is Toots.
alive and at our breakfast table every day of the week. Love is alive and it grows every day and night, even in our sleep. Love is alive and it's made a happy woman out of me. Oh, love is alive and here by me.
Cheyenne. I made a promise to Diane. No more rodeos, I'd gone my last go round. The same promise that I made in San Antonio and Santa Fe. But tonight I saddled up and let her down. Wild horses keep dragging me away, and I'll lose more than I'm gonna win someday. Wild horses just stay wild, and her heart is all I break. Wild horses keep dragging me away. She'll watch me drive around her block, getting courage up to stop, to make her one more promise that I can't keep. The way I love the rodeo, I guess I should let her go before I hurt her more than she loves me.
On the road again, just can't wait to get on the road again. The life I love is making music with my friends, and I can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again.
The raindrops keep falling on my head, and just like the guy whose feet are too big for his bed, nothing seems to fit. Those raindrops are falling on my head, they keep falling. So I just did me some talking to the sun, and I said I didn't like the way he got things done, sleeping on the job. Those raindrops are falling on my head, they keep falling. But there's one thing I know, the blues they sent to meet me won't defeat me. It won't be long till happiness steps up to greet me. Raindrops keep falling on my head, but that doesn't mean my eyes will soon be turning red. Crying's not for me, 'cause I'm never gonna stop the rain by complaining, because I'm free.
when the rains came. Down in the hollow, playing a new game. Laughing and a running, hey, hey. Skipping and a jumping. In the misty morning fog with our hearts a thumping, and you, a brown-eyed girl. And you, my brown-eyed girl. And whatever happened to Tuesday and so slow? Gone down the old man with a transistor radio. Standing in the sunlight laughing, hiding behind a rainbow's wall. Slipping and sliding all along the waterfall with you, a brown-eyed girl. And you, my brown-eyed girl. Do you remember when?
You ask me what I want, you ask me what I need. It's nothing you can buy, my heart's not ruled by greed. I don't love a diamond, diamonds you see through. I want you to hold me, I want you to be true. Give me the gift of love, look me in the eyes, say I'm the one you're dreaming of, that'd be the best surprise. Give me the gift of your sweet love, in the light of the day, in the dark of night. Like the colors of the sun, the feelings in your heart, it's all I want from you. And when the sky is dark,
Last night we brought the children by to visit their grandpa, and it's plain to see they're truly part of him. And while we were there, their grandma took out some old photographs. Man, he sure looked a lot like me back then. I'm seeing my father in me, I guess that's how it's meant to be. And I find more and more like him each day. I notice I walk the way he walks, I notice I talk the way he talks. I'm starting to see my father in me. And today I took my wife for a walk
and showed me how to live it, and taught me that you measure love by how freely you can give it. And the gift I give to you is the lesson that I learned, that when a love is true, it asks nothing in return. Unconditional love that they gave to me, it wasn't mine to keep, and I knew someday I'd hand it down to you in hopes that I can be the one who makes you see the importance of unconditional love. Now there were times I know I let them down, but never once was I rejected. And when I stood alone to face this world, somehow I still felt protected. That's the common bond we share, and it will last through the years. And you can trust that I'll be there through the good times and the tears. Unconditional love, like they gave to me, it's not yours to keep, and I know someday someone will look to you, and you will have to be the one who makes him see the importance of unconditional love. Now love is pouring through the window, coming through the door, and I can feel it creeping through the cracks in the floor, bouncing off the walls and the ceiling up above. Since I found you, I'm living in a house of love. Now love is pouring through the window, coming through the door, and I can feel it creeping through the cracks in the floor, bouncing off the walls and the ceiling up above. Since I found you, I'm living in a house of love.
ago we were so in phase. You and I could never forget the days. But then the fire seemed to flicker.
I hear tell you're doing well, good things have come to you. I wish I had your happiness, and you had a do, I could 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 do. They tell me you're running free, your days are never blue. I wish I had your good luck charm, and you had a do, I could 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 do. Yeah, I see you going down the street in your big Cadillac. You got girls in the front and got girls in the back. Yeah, way in the back. You got money in a sack, both hands on the wheel and your shoulders right back. Rip-it-bip-bip-bip-boo-ba. I hear tell you're doing well, good things have come to you. I wish I had your happiness, and you had a do, I could 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 do. Yeah, you're going down the street in your big Cadillac. You got girls in the front and got girls in the back. Yeah, and way in the back you got money in a sack, both hands on the wheel and your shoulders right back. Rip-it-bip-bip-bip-boo-ba. I hear tell you're doing well, good things have come to you. I wish I had your good luck charm, and you had a do, I could 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 do, da-do-da-da-bop.
And the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. Oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. And the dreams that you dream of, dreams really do come true. Ooh, someday you wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like lemon drops, high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. And the dream that you dare to, oh why can't I? Oh, someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like a lemon drops, high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. And the dreams that you dare to, why, oh why can't I? Yeah.
This couldn't happen. This couldn't happen.
Again, this couldn't happen again. This is that once in a lifetime. This is that thrill
This never happened before.
Though I have prayed for a lifetime that such as you would suddenly be mine, mine to have as I'm holding you now, and yet never so near. Mine to have when the now and the here disappear. What matters dear for when this doesn't happen again? We'll have these moments forever, but never, never
Why love you like I do? Why do? Don't know why I love you. Don't know why I care. I just want your love to share. I wonder why I love you like I do.
Who was the best cook when you were in Ada?
Well, I don't know. I don't think it was me.
You don't think so?
Because I used to be a kind of a tomboy.
You were.
Mm-hmm. She was more quiet. So I don't hardly think I'd make the best pie crust. I just can't see it. But I made lots of pies after I got married. I remember I used to bake pie for Christmas, and I'd bake about 6 and never think anything of it at all. I'd do it in about an hour. I'd have 6 pies done. But my measurements were in my head, no other place.
heartbeat, and the night is all but gone. Where is it written? The world must keep turning, and we must surrender to the dawn.
You to be very honest about it. We've had a pretty good life, even if it is hard.
Oh, we never know where life will take us. I know it's just a ride on the wheel, and we never know when death will shake us, and we wonder how it will feel. So goodbye, my friend. Oh, I'll never see you again, but the time together through all the years will take away these tears. It's okay now. Goodbye, my friend. I see a lot of things that make me crazy, and I guess I held on to you. Could have run away and left, well, maybe, but it wasn't time enough for you. So goodbye, my friend. I know I'll never see you again, but the love you gave me through all the years will take away these tears. I'm okay now. Goodbye, my friend. Life's so fragile and love's so pure. We can't hold on, but we try. We watch how quickly it disappears, and we never know why. But I'm okay